सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा
गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्।
ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्।
Chant 3 verses together. Vedo nityamadhiyataam taduditam कर्मस्वनुष्ठीयताम् तेनेशस्य विधीयताम् अपचितिः काम्ये मतिस्यज्यताम् आमौढः परिगूयताम् भवसुखे दोषोऽनुसन्धीयताम् आत्मेच्छा व्यवसीयताम् निजगृहात् पूर्णं विनेतन्यताम् सत्सु विधीयताम् भगवतो भक्तिर्दृढाधीयताम् शान्त्यादि परिचीयताम् दृढतरम् कर्माशु सन्त्यज्यताम् सद्विद्वानुपसृभ्यताम् प्रतिदिनम् तत्पादुकासेव्यताम् ब्रह्मैकाक्षरमर्घ्यताम् श्रुतिशिरो वाक्यं समाकर्ण्यताम् वाक्यार्थश्च विचार्यताम् श्रुतिशिरम् पक्षसमाश्रीयताम् दुस्तर्कात्सु विगम्यताम् श्रुतिमतः तर्कोऽनुसन्धीयताम् ब्रह्मास्मीति विभाव्यताम् अहरहर् गर्वः परित्यज्यताम् देहेऽहं मतिरुच्यताम् बुधजनने पादः परित्यज्यताम्। Fourth verse today. शुभ्याधिश्च चिकित्स्यताम् प्रतिदिनं भिक्षौषधं भुज्यताम् स्वाद्वन्नं न तु याच्यताम् विधिवशात् प्राप्तेन सन्तुष्यताम्। शीतोष्णादिविषह्यताम् न तु वृथा वाक्यं समुच्चार्यताम् औदासीनमभीप्स्यताम् जनकृपा नैष्ठुर्यमुत्सृज्यताम्। So the fourth verse says Kshudvyadhischa chikitsyataam. Kshud means hunger, Vyadhi is disease. So Shankaracharya says hunger is a disease. We don't need any other disease. Perpetual disease that we have is hunger. Think about it, is it not?
Yes.
All the time the stomach is growling. Everything that one does is for the stomach. In Hindi movies they have a dialogue also, Papi Pet Ke Liye. And it's very strange, sadhana wise also if you see, the mind of a person when he is hungry, very different. Irritable, snappy, angry. And one moment food goes inside, everything is. That's why they say hungry man is angry man. So, so hunger is a disease. Should vyadhischa chikitsatam. So it must be treated. How to treat? Bhiksha aushadham bhujyatam. Food is the aushadhi, medicine for it. And what type of food? Bhiksha aushadham. The food that is got by bhiksha. So we will come to that. Then he says, Swadvannam natu yachatam. Don't crave for taste. Vidhivashat praptena santushyata. Whatever one gets unasked, be happy with that. Then he says, Shitoshnadi Vishayyatam. Equanimity in pairs of opposites. Bear the pairs of opposites basically. Natu vritha vakyam samuchayatam. Don't gossip. Don't spend time in vain talk. Audasinam abhipsyatam. Live in indifference. Janakripa naishturyam utsrijyatam. Don't come under the obligation of the favors of people. So these are the 8 instructions. So kshud vyadhi. Hunger is a disease and treat food as a medicine. Ramana Maharshi used to say that the body is like a wound. What do we do for a wound? We always put a medicine, clean it up, put medicine, put bandage. This is body is like a wound. Every day you have to clean it up, eat food that is the medicine, and then you have to dress it up also. Imagine that attitude. Will anybody put lakhs and lakhs of, will anybody spend lakhs and lakhs of money on bandage? If there is a wound, will we do that? But for the body, wow, such expensive clothes and jewelry and this and that. I mean, there's nothing, at one stage one does it, but logically if one thinks about it, it's just an equipment made up of 5 elements. See, this shloka specifically is also very, it is to create vairagya in the mind of a seeker. And some of it is applicable to those who are, all of it is applicable actually to those who are full-time seekers. But some adaptations one has to do for those who are living in the household. So we'll see what those are. So when he says disease, obviously we are not at ease when there is hunger. And in disease, what do? Take medicine in the right dose. Just because I love the taste of a cold cough medicine, it tastes very sweet. So when we drink some 4 or 5 spoons, children actually want it. But will we encourage? We don't. Food, if it is supposed to be taken in medicine, matlab the spelling mistake, the right dose. What they call today, in dietitians call it portion control. This much you have to eat. Portion control. In right dosage. Should vyadhi chikitsatam. And when there is a medicine, Any medicine we take or the specific medicine we take? So what is good for the body, that specific thing one has to take. There will also be self-control and restrictions. If you have cold, then you can't eat what? Ice cream, cold water. That one can't do for that. So what is the self-control that I apply? If I am a seeker, I want to know the Supreme. I want my mind to be calm and quiet. The self-control and restrictions are that Rajasic and Tamasic food must be reduced and eliminated. Sattvic food one has to eat. Right quantity, right time. All those things matter so much. And enough rest also is required to recover from a disease. So what is that enough rest? One is enough rest actually for the body, because without the proper sleep, the food won't even get digested. So that, what they call that metabolic rate, MBR. So that metabolic rate, if it has to be proper, one needs enough rest. Long hours, one keeps up till late in the night, doesn't sleep enough, and all that makes that metabolic rate go down. Then one puts on weight, many of those things happen. So Kshud Vyadhi, hunger, if it is treated as a disease, for a spiritual seeker, food is of no concern except it is a fuel for the body, and the right type of fuel must go. That's all. The mind doesn't revolve around food. So, Kshud Vyadhischa Chikitsatam, treat this hunger as a disease. Now, food has a certain impact, so the Upanishads say that Annamayam hi manaha, as the food, so the mind. And also, Jaisa Ann Vaisa Man, in Hindi they say popularly Jaisa Pani Vaisi Vani, the water, the food that we take, affects the quality of our thoughts, quality of our interactions, everything. Ahara Shuddhav Sattva Shuddhihi. If the food gets purified, the mind gets purified. Because food is also related to the senses. The taste, the sense of taste is very powerful. Mastery of taste also is a big step in mastery over the mind. So we will come to some of those aspects. Since there's a certain importance given to food, even for a Vedantic student. So the quality of the food affects the mind. And the quality of the mind also affects the choice of food. So in the 17th chapter of the Gita it is said, how do I know I am in a Rajasic state? Because sometimes it is very difficult to find out which state I am in. The gunas are not so easy, they are subtle to recognize. So if my craving is for hot food, spicy food, khatta food, that shows that my mind is in that kind of a state. So that's one of the ways to determine what is the state of my mind. Not the only way, but one of the ways. So the quality of the mind also affects the choice of food. And consciously when we make the choice of food, that will affect the quality of the mind. So they are very closely connected and one must pay some attention to it. Though it is important to know here that it is not the only factor for spiritual growth. It is one of the factors. And an important factor because at body level we are still identified with the body. So it affects the body, so affects the mind also. So Ahara Shuddhav Sattva Shuddhi. Sattva here means mind. Sattva here doesn't mean Sattva Guna. The word Sattva here means mind. If you purify the food, mind will get purified. And so the Upanishads say that the food is divided into three parts. The subtle part becomes the mind, the gross part becomes the body and the bones and all that, and the waste part comes out. So this subtle part which becomes the mind is not only the subtle essence of the food, but all the other aspects that go along with it. The attitude with which it is cooked, how it is served, in what attitude I consume, all that matters. And so there are certain things that one does before eating the food. To ensure that the food has sattvic impact on the mind. So what are some of those things? What are the aspects of Ahara Shuddhi? So some of these are also followed very strictly in the Dvaita Parampara. So I think Madhusudan Saraswati or some one person, I forget the name, they gave 6 points for Ahara Shuddhi. We included some of those here in this Ahara Shuddhi. First and foremost, that point is the food must be sattvic food. This is applicable to a spiritual seeker who wants to realize the truth. Please also remember, food varies according to the temperament and according to the work that one is doing. So, lot of physical work when somebody is doing, they cannot live only on fruits and vegetables. They will require more of those carbohydrates and cereals and all those things. So it will also depend on the nature of their work. Here we are talking purely from a contemplative student who wants to meditate, know the truth. So first is food must be sattvic. Second is fresh and raw food has much more pranic energy, and that much more pranic energy is very necessary for meditation. Meditation consumes maximum energy. So the more raw food, organic food one eats, the more pranic energy one takes. And also one has to train oneself in this. If we are used to eating cooked food, our body is not so easily going to adapt if we suddenly shift to fully raw diet. One has to slowly change. So raw food and fresh food. So as much one can eat fresh without cooking, without subjecting it to heat, without keeping it for long periods of time, it helps. Temperament of the cook must be cheerful and happy. Swamiji, how can we guarantee that? What if the person is very angry, has had some fight in the house and is cooking the food? What can I do? So if that person is like, is going through an agitation, the person is cooking it that way. But when you consume it, that's why we do that Brahmarpanam and be grateful to the Lord and invoke sattvic vibrations, and then you sit and eat that food. But if the cheerfulness is there, naturally it will have more impact. The cook must be like that. Money earned through right means must be used to buy the food. This is said specifically in that Dvaita Parampara. 6 aspects of Ahara Shuddhi, this is one of them. Food must be served with love in clean utensils. Naturally, the way in which it is served also makes it. Somebody just throws that food saying, "Khali." How will we feel? One has to serve it with love. It must not have hair and dust and all that. It must be balanced in nutrients. Again, this is alkaline in the metabolic end product. As much alkaline the food is, that much better for the body, especially for a meditator. Please remember that. Acidity is not good for the meditator. Alkaline product is important. Not good in general only for anybody's body, but for a meditator especially, because the body has to become calm, nerves have to soothe down, quieten down. Then the mind is able to go deep into meditation. In the beginning, you may even feel heat here. If acidity is there, when you start meditating and you pay attention to the body, here at the stomach part, you will feel heat also. It's not just the heat which is normally there, the metabolic heat in the body, but that acidity, that there is a, how do you distinguish that? There's a different feeling when there is acidity in the body. It also comes out as reflux when one is sleeping. So one has to be careful with that acidic part of the body. For a meditator, consciously, that's why sleep early, wake up early, all those practices which they said earlier, get up early, do Brahma Muhurat and all that, that is to keep this body alkaline. upvas, and then drinking water as soon as you wake up. All those are very, very important aspects. So this is Ahara Shuddhi, a few aspects of Ahara Shuddhi. Let the food become. Now we come to Bhiksha Shadam Bhujyatam. So what is this Bhiksha? This is a very nice concept which is there in our culture. In some of the Eastern cultures it is there. So seek alms. So it is allowed for brahmacharis and sannyasis. The grahasthi and vanaprasthi support. Actually, technically speaking, grahasthi supports all the other three. Brahmachari, vanaprasthi and the sannyasi. Why is this alms to be sought? Meaning, one goes, asks for bhiksha, bhiksham dehi. So even when a Janeyu ceremony is done, a part of the Janeyu ceremony is that the person will ask bhiksha from the mother and the relatives there will offer bhiksha. And that's a training. Those days the Gurukuls used to run like that. The students have to go out and get bhiksha and come and then divide it with other students. They give it to the teacher also and then take one part for themselves. It has many, many spiritual benefits. So what are the tradition? You are asked, you can go only to 5 houses. In a day, you can only go to 5 houses for 5 pranas. Whatever you get from those 5 houses, one gets it. The food is digested by the pranas, the 5 pranasimas. So the person divides the food into 5 parts, shares one with the teacher, gives for the other fellow beings, fellow students, and one part of it the person takes. And there is no choice in it. Whatever food is brought together, everybody mixes it. It's come together. Then they are divided, and then it is given up. So it's not that one keeps, okay, today I got what? Pizza ka one slice somebody gave me. That I keep for myself, the rest of the food I give to other people. That's why pizza didn't exist actually. Whatever, some nice delicacy one got. So there's no such choice, you just give it. First thing that a bhiksha does, we have to understand the concept of bhiksha. It saves time for the student who wants to study and for the sannyasi who wants to contemplate. It saves time. That's why even on the upvas day, we live only on fruit and water, because one needs to save time and use that time for meditation. Second, it saves lot of other hassles. आज जीरा नहीं है, आज दाल नहीं है, आज ये आटा नहीं है, आटा पीसने को भेजो, ये करो, वो करो, all that, so much झंझट. That all it saves. Also, when a person has that time exclusively, see 25 years of one's life dedicated for study, first 25 years, in that by the time the initiation happens, 8 years, one goes to Gurukul. About 12-13 years one has for study. In that the Guru Seva is done, in that the study is also done, in that where will one find time to do all this cooking and cleaning and all that? Washing the clothes, etc. is already there to be done. So, when we were studying in Sandipani 2 years, exclusive time only for study, that makes a lot of difference. Because if one has to bother about food and cooking and all that, a lot of time just goes. So exclusive time for study, one saves that time, one focuses that full time only on gaining knowledge and then give that knowledge back to the society. Serve the society with that knowledge. So the society supports these people who are pursuing knowledge and who will empower the society back with the knowledge. So that's the concept of the bhiksha. And so one takes anna bhiksha from somebody who has come and taken your jnana bhiksha. This is specifically when we go back. So when we come out of Sandipani, so even now we all live on bhiksha only. Every day somebody or the other keeps sending bhiksha to me. So we ensure that the person who is giving the bhiksha is first taking the bhiksha that we are offering. Jnana bhiksha one has to offer. person takes knowledge, from them you take food. So take food for the body, and before that give food for the soul. That's the concept. And so when a bhiksha is to be asked, it inculcates humility. It also inculcates acceptance of whatever comes. One doesn't ask for any specific thing. That's why a lot of people they ask, Swamiji, what do you want? I say, send anything, whatever. Unless there's some diet restriction, then you say, do accept this, whatever else you say. The whole concept of bhiksha is that if one is going to ask and one is going to say, aaj mujhe ye bhejo, aaj mujhe wo bhejo, what is the point? Send whatever it is and eat. One need not think about that food aspect that much. And so it is that when one asks bhiksha, somebody may insult, somebody may reject, somebody may give a lot of praise and welcome and everything, satkar will be done. In all that one has to remain equanimous. One doesn't feel dejected that, oh God, I didn't get any bhiksha today. Or one doesn't feel dejected that somebody didn't give a bhiksha and insulted and sent her. One of the best ways to erase the ego is ask bhiksha. Every day go and ask bhiksha. So when a person goes like that, especially from the people whom you know them well, when you ask for a bhiksha, it is not easy. That's why they do it at that time when the relatives are there, when the Janeu ceremony is done, they'll say go and ask. But that is very ceremonial, no? So everybody happily gives that time. Imagine repeatedly one has to go, aa gaya wapas. That's what people will say. One has to listen. Same thing applies when you go for asking donations also. Same thing applies. To ask only is so difficult. Go and ask. How difficult it is, then one will know. One will value that money also then when it comes. And use it judiciously also. Because it's very difficult to get money. And humbling it is. And it will also test conviction. They will ask you, why do you need this money for? What is the seva that you are doing? And very tough it is to explain to people what is Gyan Seva. You ask them for a school, for a hospital, for an orphanage, they will give. You tell them, this is to share knowledge. This is to empower the people with the right attitude towards our culture. This is to preserve and protect our culture. They won't give. And then on frivolous things, money is spent. One has to learn to be equanimous at that time. When one will see all that, the mind can get disturbed, saying, what is this? That's where the equanimity is. The other day I was seeing one sculpture. It's just one sculpture somebody has made. It is a bucket from which a lot of things are falling down. One sculpture. And they told me that sculpture cost 7 crores. We have been asking people for funds for Chinmay Pradeep, which has so much of knowledge inside it. And some people have literally asked me on my face, why are you even building this? This is a criminal waste of money. You listen to it. You have to practice equanimity at that time. Saying it's okay. And you explain to them why this knowledge, what is the importance, how it is the essence of our country's spiritual heritage, all that one explains to them. So it will test conviction also. It will test one's clarity. It will test one's equanimity. And it will erase the ego. After all that, you can come back gaining nothing from them. And yet you can be happy. Then that is spiritual growth. Okay? Because it's Lord's work, Lord's will sing. Same thing applies for food. Actually the food comes from Bhagavan only, not the individual there. Bhagavan sitting in the hearts of all promised people. So the attitude of the seeker is that I am asking bhiksha and the Lord is feeling. If Lord's will is there today, food has come. Lord's will is there today, food has not come. Whatever it is, I accept. People like Tapon Maharaj entirely lived only on bhiksha. We are still missionaries, we have come down, we are living in the cities here, and there are kind people who keep sending food. People like Tapon Maharaj wandered all over the Himalayas. Can you imagine the mindset? He doesn't know where the next meal is going to come from. If we don't know where our next meal is going to come from, what will our thought mind be occupied with? अब खाना कहाँ से मिलेगा? His mind is not occupied with that. Thinking only of Bhagavan. That's the point of that bhiksha and the sannyasi, how that person lives all the time. Thinking about, he is not bothered, food comes, food doesn't come. The mind is occupied with the higher. That is the beauty of that. So it will help to cultivate a lot of vairagya. You know, Buddha is very interesting. This concept of bhiksha. So he used to go for bhiksha, and all his bhikshus also, they will go for bhiksha and they will ask. So one day he was going for bhiksha, and they, the sannyasis, they will have a bhiksha patra. The bhiksha patra will be this much only. So that is another aspect of control, portion control is that much. You cannot take bhiksha more than this much. There is a joy in that also. When we were small children, my mother she still practices Jainism. So these Mahasatijis will come. They will have that one chola will be there, and these different vessels will be there. On every Sunday they will come. We all will get up early and get ready, and then ready to offer bhiksha. When we have seen all this, that samskar is there in the mind, ki what is a sadhu's life, how does a sadhu live, how bhiksha is given, and they will take it in different vessels. And if their vessel is full, then they will not come again. If one house only, if the vessel has become full, they will go back. So that much only one takes. So he was going, a crow was flying from the top and dropped one piece of meat. Some big piece it was. Fell into his bowl. He said, okay, that is the bhiksha for today. And he ate. Now that principle they forgot. So they said Buddha ate meat, so we all can eat meat. Started. But what was the principle there? That the food which came, the crow had thrown it. So he ate it also. I mean, that his attitude was that it has come unasked, I ate. So he ate. So that is bhiksha there, that he lived on that principle that whatever comes unasked, I will eat, and with that much I will be happy, satisfied. So a lot of vairagya it cultivates, because whatever comes your way, sometimes to insult that person, people will give stale food also. People will reject also, they will not give also. Just imagine a person like Angulimal, who transformed to become a bhikshu, and in the same village he goes, where he has looted those people, he has chopped off some of their fingers, and now he has become a bhikshu and he goes. What will be his condition? Many places he was stoned also, but faced it, saying, okay, this is the result of my own karma, so I face it. So it cultivates vairagya. Whatever comes unasked, one accepts that. So makes one humble and grateful that Bhagavan is taking care, and it connects a person to the Lord straight away. The vanity that I have worked and this food is earned by my money and I can do what I want with it, all that goes away. The value of surrender, that it has come from the Lord Himself, makes a person humble and inculcates that ability to accept whatever life brings. Now this ability is applicable to all the senses, because hunger is not only for the body, all the senses are hungry. They constantly crave for sense enjoyment. what kind of sense mastery it is if we understand this aspect, that if the senses are free from craving, swadvarnam natu yachyata. Eyes have craving to see good things, pleasing things. Ears have craving for listening to praise, good music. The tongue has craving for food, taste. Each of these senses have such cravings. If one drops those and learns to accept life, okay, if this has come, good, if nothing is there, doesn't matter. That's a very, very precious ability. So Bhiksha does all that. So today we will learn 2 shlokas by which we can simply internalize this. We may not be going out for Bhiksha. As I said, this is specifically for brahmacharis and sannyasis. They go out and seek alms. But for others, the attitude we must have is that food comes from the Lord, and this food that I am eating also is a Bhiksha from Bhagavan. So let's learn these 2 shlokas. Some of you may be knowing, but let's learn together. Please repeat after me. Annapurne sada purne Shankara pranavallabhe Jnana vairagya siddhyartham Diksham dehi cha parvati. Together. Annapurne sada purne Shankara pranavallabhe Jnana vairagya siddhyartham Diksham dehi cha parvati. This is Annapurne Sadapurne. Annapurna Devi, she is considered the deity of food, and she is Mother Parvati. So actually this shloka is where, if you have seen some pictures, no, Shankar Bhagavan is asking for Bhiksha, because he himself is like a sannyasi, and then Annapurna Devi is giving food. So this whole Annapurna Stotram, 8 verses are there, very nice ones. In that, this is the first shloka. Annapurne Sadapurne. O Mother Annapurna, who is ever fulfilled, Sadapurne. Shankara Pranavallabhe. You are very dear to Shankara, Lord Shiva. Jnana Vairagya Siddhyartha. Please give me Bhiksha so that I will attain knowledge and dispassion. So when we eat food, the attitude one must have is, may this food go within and stabilize the body and calm down the mind so that I can attain knowledge and dispassion. So food is not just eaten for the taste. It may have a taste and it may have, it may be pleasing to the tongue, but the focus is not on that. Focus is on, may this food help me in my sadhana. There is one more slok which is at the end of the Annapurna Stotram, which is this one. Mata cha Parvati Devi Pita Devo Maheshwaraha Bandhava Shiva Bhaktascha Swadesho Bhuvanatrayam. Together. Mata cha Parvati Devi Pita Devo Maheshwara Bandhava Shiva Bhaktascha Svadesho Bhuvanatrayam. This is Mata cha Parvati Devi. Mother Parvati is my mother. Pita Deva Maheshwara, Lord Shiva is my father. Bandhava Shiva Bhaktascha, all the other devotees are my friends and brothers. And Swadesho Bhuvanatrayam, all the 3 worlds are my home. So with that attitude, once one takes the food, that food is a Bhiksha coming from Bhagavan, and Bhagavan is taking care of this body. May I do sadhana to realize that, Lord. Such nice attitude this is. And this similar attitude is there in many. So Samat Ramdas also, the Manache Shlok and all that. There are such nice couplets in Marathi also. Udara Bharana no hai gane se yajna karna. Understand food is not to fill the belly. Understand that it is a yajna karna. So with that sadhana, with that attitude of sadhana, one eats the food. So Kshudvyadhisya chikitsatam pratidinam bhikshaushadam bhujyatam swadvannam na tu yachatam. Don't ask for tasty food. Taste is something which one must control. So drop that craving. Swadvannam na tu yachatam. So don't crave for taste. And there are different types of craving. We have craving for sugar, we have craving for fried food, we have craving for many different types of things, spicy food. And there is nothing, no harm in any of this. But if any of them are ruling me, they control me, then that is to be got out of. So taste and speech mastery definitely lead to mind mastery. In all the senses, this tongue is the most difficult one to control in the 5 senses of knowledge. So speaking and food. So few ways to attain taste mastery I am going to share. Whichever is applicable and you like, you can apply it. Even one of them you apply, you will see a lot of difference. Eat what you don't like, but it is healthy. Rejected Swami. Not possible. At least one thing in a day one can eat like that, which is healthy, which one doesn't like. Wheatgrass juice. Drink it. Bland it will be. Anything, but which is healthy. Fruit, salad, whatever it is. Eat food without salt sometimes and without sugar sometimes. You know this, in our culture there is one full month. When we were small, I have seen my grandmother and all of them practicing that. One full month, Chaitra only, no?
Yeah, Chaitra.
One full month they will not eat salt. Alunu it is called. No salt only. No, Swamiji, what happened to sodium balance? Nothing happened. They were very balanced all the time. I didn't see them, any of them fainting and getting dizzy and all that. So, in one of the camps we did that. That's why if you come to my camp, very risky it is. What I will do when in the camp, you don't know. One of the camps in the dinner in Uttarkashi we went. I had told the cook, don't put any salt. And that fellow was compassionate. The fellow made khichdi. I had told him, make roti, sabji, dal, chawal, proper. Make proper meal and don't put salt in anything. नहीं स्वामी जी नहीं खा पाएंगे स्वामी जी प्लीज इतना मत करो इनके लिए स्वामी जी. And fellow made khichdi. And you should have seen everybody's face there. Quietly they ate it because they heard in lecture. But portion control came into play immediately. नहीं बस बहुत हो गया. अरे इतना तो इससे ज़्यादा रात को अभी सुबह जल्दी उठना है. All. No salt on that day. One disciple of Swami Tapon Maharaj asked him, Swamiji, do you have 10 paise? He said, what do you want? Why do you want it? He said, I want to buy salt. You know what he said? He said, namak khane ke liye sannyasi bane ho kya? Meaning in the food, if salt is not there, just eat it. You will get money. For that you have to ask somebody, get me this money. Then go to the market and then get that salt. For what? For this tongue. Because it's not tasting proper. The way he used to eat food is terrific. His sense mastery is something else only. That's my goal actually, to come to that level. Food he will take from Kali Kamli Wale Baba Ashram. And then there is a cloth that he has. He put the food in that. He will dip that food in Ganga Ji. Whatever masala, whatever spice is there, everything will be washed out. And that he takes out and he eats that food. Terrific. So his level of sense mastery of the tongue especially is is one standard actually. So eat without salt, eat without sugars. This sugar, white sugar and this salt, they are one of the deepest addictions of the human body. So one should slowly come out of that. Again, none of this can be done just immediately. One has to train the body slowly. Eat bland food or raw food sometimes. Just bland food. For a long time in Sandipani I used to do that. In the night, only 2 chapatis and plain dal. So they will keep separately. So one dal will be there, normal dal and sabji and everything, and then one bowl will be only plain dal. So they will only have little bit of namak in that and some haldi. That's it. Just eat that. So eat bland food, raw food sometimes. Upvas is another method of sense mastery. And please do upvas as it is supposed to be done. Don't cook special items on that day and eat Rajagra ka puri and then Sabudana ka khichdi and then what all delicacies now they have. As it is supposed to be done, meaning with fruits, with only water. I like the Jain Upvas is the best. Between morning 6 o'clock to evening 6 o'clock you can drink water. That too boiled water, cool down water. Nothing before, nothing after that. Nothing before 6, nothing after 6. Only water. Nirjal. Sorry, no, that's not Nirjal. That is with water. Nirjal Upvas means no water also. Don't try that immediately. But with water. So that fasting is also another method. What will happen with fasting? A lot of craving for food which we have, no? We will become aware of. Apart from whatever other benefit it has, detoxing the body and everything else. It also gives me awareness of what kind of craving I have. Because when one is hungry that way, where does the mind go? What kind of food the mind wants? Mix everything together and eat. There are some sadhus who do that. They will have one Bhiksha Patra. You put everything inside that. I am really tempted many times to do this. Some point of the time I take it out. Take one Bhiksha Patra. Only that much. You go to anybody's house, whatever you have put it inside. Whatever it is. 7-course meal also, if you have put all the 7 courses inside this, mix it all and just eat. Huh? In the army they train them. This is another nice method to do. You want to try today, immediately you can try. Lunch, go home and mix everything and just eat. Huh? No, whatever, khichdi is easier is one item. No? Roti, sabji, dal, chawal and whatever, achar and dahi and whatever, so many things which we eat. Mix it all. Dessert, no? Ice cream also usi mein डालते Gulab Jamun also usi mein डालते. Look at some of your faces. Already. But it is a fact, if you try it, it is something amazing. When I am alone, no, I keep doing all that, keep putting all that mix and eat and the tongue must not rule our life. 1-2 inches of this tongue, which has no muscle, which has no bone inside it, how much it controls our life? When you taste the joy of meditation, or the craving for taste anyway drops. That's the best part. Silence, meditation. The joy in meditation is so absorbing. No more there is a craving कि ये खाना चाहिए, वो खाना चाहिए, इधर जाए, उधर जाए. Nothing. It just stops. If one goes for some work or some sadhana or something, that's a different thing. But there is no craving in that. That we, I have not traveled for so long. कहीं जाने का मन कर रहा है. Nothing. Our Guruji sings one song. It's a very Vedantic song. Simple lines they are. Vedantic, nice song. कमरे में बैठा हूँ, अब मुझे कहीं नहीं जाना है, अब मुझे कुछ नहीं करना है. Only 4 lines, like a Zen song. And he keeps singing in some tune that he has created. But that's the way it is now. I am sitting in my cell, meaning my mind. I don't have to go anywhere, I don't have to become anything, I don't have to do anything, all craving gone. There is peace. So, na swadvannam na tu yachatam. Give up that craving for taste and accept whatever life brings. Vidivashat praptena santushyata. How beautifully these attitudes are ingrained in our life in a very simple way. No? Don't we say that dane dane pe likha hai? Meaning whatever comes will come to you only if it is destined to you. Otherwise you can't eat it. So vidivashat, whatever has come, imagine how much conflict in the house also will get stopped. Whatever the spouse cooks and has come, you say Bhagwan has sent it. Eat. No critical comments. Positive comments, please give. Because if you don't give that also, then more trouble. But no critical comments. Even if you give critical comments, only for them to improve their this thing, not because you feel कि अरे अच्छा नहीं बना. Acceptance of it as it comes. Then he says, Shitoshnadi Vishahyatam. Bear the pairs of opposites with equanimity. This we have done many times. Equanimity is to avoid these fluctuations of the mind and to bring steadiness in the mind. Life will have lots of pairs of opposites. They will come, they will disturb the mind. Not to get perturbed by them, not to complain, to accept them as they are. That's a sadhana. Shitoshnadi Vishahyatam. Natu vritha vakyam samucharyatam. So how to learn to be in equanimity? We will see. Simple ways are there to learn to be in equanimity. So this video you must have seen earlier, some of you are new. There's no harm in seeing it again. It's a very nice video of Guru Dev.
This is only because of your contact, the right contact with the world outside, nothing wrong. In wrong contact that you get entangled with the world outside. Shitoshna Sukha Dukkhada, all your experiences of heat and cold, Shitoshna, Sukha Dukkha, joy and sorrow are all in the way you contact the world. There are some people, a little hot, and you open the window. And a little, close the window. You go on giving it up. Shitoshna Sukha Dukkha, or joy and sorrow, success and failure, loss and gain, is all by your contact with it, these various experiences. And then what am I to do then? I am here in this world. Agama Vayano Anitya. These are all Agama Vai. They come and go. One moment hot, another moment cold. If you go on complaining, you can continue. A little. Today Swamiji is very windy. Oh, very cold. And the day before yesterday was saying that it's very hot. Summer has come, I think. Half an hour, that's all. Now today, just the opposite. Something very cold outside. Breeze. What the heat and cold. I mean, you really speaking, if you keep your ears open, it's wonderful to hear that one rain. No rain at all, Swamiji, no rain at all. And I let there be rain for 3 days. Swamiji, no rain. Anything you're complaining. My people, my father and mother, they don't care for me. All right, father and mother have landed. Swamiji, they have landed, they are not going. They are not going. That's a complaint. If the wife smiled, I don't know why she is smiling so much. 6 inches smile, why should she? I think she is grinning at me. Now she doesn't smile. It's all very tragic. She is not smiling at all. She must smile exactly the size that you expect her to do. Naturally, you are never happy. Because she is an independent lady. She has got her own ways of smiling. You should have asked her before marriage that, smile, let me see. No, that's not the right kind of smile. You understand? You give it up. All your own mental projection. Agama, Vayu, Anitya, they are impermanent. They are never the same. They are Agama, Vayu. They come and go. Tam, Titikshas of Bhagavad. When they come to you, joys and sorrow, success and failure, calm them, Titikshasva, suffer silently. Don't get perturbed by them. Why? By the time you say that I am sick, you have to say that now I am all right. Last 2 days, you are sick, very sick and all that. So the third day I meet you and say, hey, how are you now? Why? I am all right. Hey, but you were very sick. Oh, that was last week. Now I am all right. But last week he was dying. And this week he is planning the next marriage. Haven't you in your life also watched? In your own silent heart have you watched your friend crying and you went there for bereavement because his wife died? You went, you also went. He also went. Third week, you get an invitation card. My marriage, please come. When you go there, you don't know whether to weep or to smile. So you do both together. That fellow forgot. The Baba, he comes and goes. And he tries to give you an explanation that it is not that I want to marry, but then the 2, 3 children, small children, to look after them. This is the best babysitter available. It's very laughable if you keep on watching how people move from one to the other. These are not to be, should not waste your time in running up and down. When joy comes, you go beyond the clouds. When sorrow comes, you come crashing down. No, keep your balance. Let them come and go. But every one of us will be ups and downs. If a piece of wood is in the sea will have always the waves, and the wood is, floating on the waters. Naturally, that wood will have to go up and down according to the rhythm of the waves. Isn't it? But the same waves, or in the same waves, is standing the lighthouse at the harbor. The waves come and break themselves at the feet of the lighthouse, but the lighthouse is not going up and down. Why? Lighthouse is not floating on the surface, but it is built on the foundation of the rocks down below. Therefore, the light illumines the waves. The waves come and clash and die away. But the lighthouse stands steady. May you all learn to live like a lighthouse. In the tumultuous changes of situations and circumstances and the world of change and tossing situations in the world, learn to keep your balance. How? By building your life on firm foundation. But all of us are only floating in life. A little happiness, the mind, and next moment, and go on up and down. Agama, Vaino, Nitya, these are all impermanent. They come and go. No joy can permanently stay with you. No sorrow can permanently stay with you. Then what am I to do? Silently suffer. With dignity, with silent dignity, suffer them. Because you know they are not going to be permanent. They will go away. Agama vaino nitya tam tidiksha svabharata. Hey Bharata Kulottama, tam tidiksha, suffer them silently with dignity and patience. They will not be permanent. And enjoy yourself at night. And do achieve what you want to achieve in life without getting knocked down by all these different experiences come and go.
So the example here of the lighthouse, that the lighthouse is built on the firm foundation of the rocks below. So what is that firm foundation now? 3 attitudes, any one of them can be a firm foundation. One is I hold on to my ideal and my goal and keep serving and not get distracted by various ups and downs that come. Success, failure, praise, criticism, accusation, provocation, so many things keep happening in life. If I hold on to my goal, it can be a material goal, it can be a spiritual goal, it can be a social goal, whichever goal it is. But single pointed focus only on the goal, and I hold on to my goal, that I am here for this. Anything is helpful in achieving, I take it. If it is not, I leave it. Second is the attitude that whatever has come by the grace of Bhagavan. I accept it as prasad. He knows the best. I learn to accept it and see how I can face it now. And third is, remember, Agama Apayin. They come and they go. So even this will pass away. It's just a temporary moment. It's a phase also. All these come in phases, pairs of opposites. They will come in phases only. They come and they go, they come and they go. This has to be practiced when I am in good times. Then this will happen even in difficult times. That even this will pass away cannot happen only at the time of difficulty. When everything is happening good also, I must know happening by His grace, but even this will pass away. So not to be attached when it is good. If I am able to do that, then in the difficult times also I will say even this will pass away. So Shitoshnadi Vishahyata, meaning bear them silently. Natu vritha vakyam samocharyatam, don't utter vain words. So don't gossip, don't indulge in small talk. This nice set of books which is there. Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. And there are such books for, like, don't sweat the small stuff for teenagers. Don't sweat the small stuff for women. Don't sweat the small stuff for men. Like that, there are different series of books, different issues they have dealt with to get out of those small ways of thinking, petty ways of thinking. So the mouth and the ears are given to us to listen and to speak about the Lord, to do sadhana, for that specifically, to build relationships, to serve, to love, not for idle talk. That is going to pollute both of them. And hence, what do we need to do? There is a very famous quote: great minds discuss ideas, mediocre minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. So many places this is said again and again in our scriptures. Narad Bhakti Sutra says, don't indulge only in such talk about power, pleasure. Don't even converse with atheists, it says at one point in time, because if your conviction is not strong, you will get shaken up. Once you get strong, then you can talk. So, gossip is something, there's a strange pleasure in gossip. It's a sadistic pleasure where we try to pull down people, and then we feel happy when we pull down people. People who indulge in gossip are people who will not have inner security and happiness within, and they derive that happiness from pulling other people down. And also it breeds insecurity, because if I am gossiping against somebody, I also will have a thought that somebody is doing that on my back about me. So, for a spiritual seeker, don't gossip and don't allow others to gossip. If it is not in my control to stop them, at least I can move away from that place or mentally withdraw from the gossip. Dussangah sarvatha eva tyajya, it is said. One should drop the company of the evil. Because few moments also, one's mind gets clouded. Entire Ramayana is a proof of that. Few moments, that mantras, Dussanga, Kaikeyi came under, finished. She loved Ram so much, but then few moments she got overpowered by that. And then, so, Anand Mahima used to say very nicely that Hari Katha hi Katha, Baki sab vyarth yatha. It's all vain talk. Main is to speak about the Lord. The speech must be used for that. Someone else used to say Hari Om Tat Sat, Baki sab Gapshat. The real fact is only that much. The Hari Om Tat Sat is the truth. Everything is Gapshat only. So the way given in the Gita is Anudvega Karam Vakyam. Speak words which are not agitating others. Most important quality of a sadhak, as far as speech is concerned, is the words must not disturb other people's minds. Unagitating words. Sattvic speech. Even if you are disagreeing, one has to disagree in a sattvic way. Even criticism has to happen in a sattvic way. Anudvegakaram Vakyam. Satyam, Priyam and Hitam. If something is truth, if it is beneficial and if it is spoken lovingly, then one must indulge in it. Otherwise, no need. If it is not the truth, no point. If it is the truth but not beneficial, no need to utter it. And if it is the truth and beneficial, then it must be spoken lovingly. Lovingly meaning politely, positively. And Swadhyaya Abhyasanam Chaiva. Study of the scriptures and practice of the chanting will help to purify the speech. So Natuvritha Vakyam Samucharyata. One should not indulge in the gossip. Audasinyam Abhipsyatam. Rise above pettiness. Ut means up. Asina means to sit. To sit above small things one holds a grudge against. One doesn't let go, ego problems happen. One should let go of all those. So rise above pettiness, calculativeness, idle talk, low thoughts. How will this happen? Only when I have a higher purpose in life. There is only one solution for this. Ut is the solution. Ut means up. If I don't have a higher purpose in life, I will be stuck with petty little things. There is nothing else to hold on to for the mind. If there is nothing higher to hold on to, it will be stuck with all these. He did this, he did not do this, she said this, why she said this, I did not do this, yet they are accusing me. All that mind will get stuck. And let us remember one more thing. When we even come in a social service organization, a spiritual organization, it is not that everybody is very highly evolved there. Everybody is still on the path. So it will happen there also that there will be somebody who will not understand you, who will misunderstand, who will accuse, who will provoke. Many people say, यहाँ पर भी ऐसा ही है, but mind is the same, ना? It is coming here to get trained only. And slowly it will evolve. So that one has to know very clearly that, Gurudev used to say that actually. He used to say that in a hospital you will find sick people only. You come and complain, here there are sick people, then this is spiritual. Ashram is a spiritual hospital. People who are suffering from egocentric vanities, they are coming there and they are slowly trying to get themselves out of it. So it will happen. That's why that accommodativeness and understanding has to be there, that we all are seekers and hold on to the higher and keep moving. So Udasina, Audasinyam Abhipsyatam. He says one should rise above these small things. Even at the body level, one has to be indifferent to certain things. I shared this earlier also sometime that one brahmachari went to Gurudev and he said, Swamiji, there are lots of mosquitoes. I am not able to sleep. So Gurudev told him, Have you come to the ashram to sleep or to awaken yourself? And he said, these are my tiny soldiers to keep you awake. That brahmachari would have got frustrated and went, what a master he is. He doesn't understand, he has no sympathy. But Gurudev organized, next 2-3 days he organized for mosquito net and all that. But the point is, why are you so disturbed about those small little things? Imagine in his times, he is living in Gangotri somewhere up there, one kutia is there, 1 2 feet, 4 feet high kutia, 4 feet high kutia, this much height it is. And that he has to share with another brahmachari also. And he can't even stand erect inside that. Even he can't spread his leg fully and sleep properly. But he never went to Tapan Maharaj saying, what a kutia this is, how to stay in this place. So when this brahmachari comes there, he makes them, he trains them slowly in that way. So small petty little things, something is there, something is not there. One rises above all that. Audasinyam abhipsyatam. So his mantra, Tapan Maharaj's mantra was this: simple living and high thinking. Mind should not come down in thoughts. No matter what is the circumstances around, the mind should not come down from the higher purpose that one is holding on to. So if I remember all the time that I am a seeker, how should a seeker respond? Learn to accept life as it comes. So then complaining, cribbing, all that will go. One will rise above this only when there is that higher purpose and attitude. And 3 things here one should be careful of. Audasinyam does not mean being indifferent. If there is a duty that I have to do, don't say I am udasin towards my duties. No. It doesn't mean being insensitive and tell anything to anybody. And it does not mean also to have a holier than thou attitude. That I am better than other people because now I am a sadhak, I am practicing spirituality. You all are stuck in petty little things, I am higher. That attitude must not be there. So these 3 things one should be careful about when we say udasina, otherwise one can mistake this audasina. And last one is janakripa naishturyam utsrujyatam. So one more point about audasina is, udasina also means rise above all distractions and agitations and be single pointed only in the goal. Whatever I want to achieve, I focus only on that much. I rise above everything else which is unconducive to attainment of my goal. That is audasina. Janakripa naishturyam utsrujyatam. Get out of the obligation that one has and the pressure of that obligation, which makes a person compromise. So don't come under the pressure of the obligation to the people who have helped you. People have helped, be grateful to them, serve, give, but no need to oblige them in the sense of deviating from dharma. Just because somebody has shown some favor, helped me in times of need, does not mean that I will compromise with my dharma, do whatever they say, and make some things, some adjustments which otherwise I would not have made, which make me do wrong things also. So don't yield to their pressure. One person, one big industrialist. So he came forward to support this cause. Gurudev said, we must have Harihar school because a lot of villagers migrating into the cities and there are a lot of difficulties. So he said, why they are coming to the cities? Because they need jobs. And we are not encouraging their vocation, we are not giving training, we are not creating the market and all that. So he said, with the school education, we will also give them vocational training. So he started the concept of Harihar schools. So some industrialists came forward, he said, Swamiji, our company will sponsor this whole thing. Everything decided almost. Last meeting, that industrialist put a condition, saying that Swamiji, till you are there, this will be under Chinmaya Mission. After you, it will come under our group name. Gurudev just walked up, he got up there and he said, don't put conditions on sannyasi. You want to serve the society selflessly. And he went. He did not come under that obligation that this person is giving so much of money and so whatever that person is saying, I will have to oblige and do nothing. That is a service genuinely done. There will people will benefit. In that, selfishness should not come into play. And for that purpose, one is trying to bend certain things. Another place, one man said, Swamiji, I will sponsor your whole yajna. You will stay with me. I will take care of all the arrangements. Everything I will only do. Gurudev said, I am not a private Swami. Yajna means teamwork. People will come together. Everybody has to be involved and they have to work together for a common cause. That is yajna spirit. The point is not to have one event and then you do everything for it and then you get the praise for it. So, those are the things where one has to be clear that these are the principles by which we stand, and no matter who it is. Rockefeller gave a big donation to Vivekananda, and he wanted to barge in and meet Vivekananda at his will. Vivekananda did allow him only to come. At his time when he is studying, he is doing sadhana, how can he come in whenever he wants to come in and meet? And 3 days he made him wait. You can't come in. It humbled him after that. So, Janakripa Naishturya Mutsrujyatam. How do we do that? Always give more than what you take. This is so nicely inbred in our culture. If somebody gives, let us say, some food is sent to you by the neighbor, when we return that vessel, we never return that vessel empty. We always put something inside it and give. Like that, there are many practices where we inculcate the attitude of giving more than what you take, or not having the pressure of obligation, and learn to keep sharing, keep giving. So our commitment to dharma and truth is above our commitment to everyone else. This is the point to be understood by a seeker. If Bhishma had understood this point, he would have fought from the side of Pandavas. He was loyal to the throne, even Dronacharya. Just imagine, is that not Janakripa Naishturya? He said that I have eaten the salt of these people, so I have to fight with them. But they are adharmic people. And when you see them doing adharma, you have to walk out. You see, Mahabharata in that way is a very fantastic book. Just before the war, there is a call given. If anybody wants to switch sides, this is the last chance, you can still switch sides. And one brother of Kauravas walked out from the Kaurava side and came to Pandava side. One brother. Like that, there are lots of such beautiful examples in Mahabharata to understand these psychological aspects, that my commitment to dharma is much more than my commitment to individuals. So what if you have fed me, brought me up, everything, but if you are on the side of adharma, I will not come under that obligation, I will walk out. Because I follow those values because of commitment to righteousness. And if righteousness is compromised, there is no point in me being loyal to it. So, Janakripa Naishturya Mutsrujyatam. So that's the last instruction in that 4th verse. So that's where we stop today. And our next session will be in Churchgate. That is the last session. Can you come 15 minutes early that day? Because what we need to do is do the discussion of those 5 questions. That group discussion questions. So 15 minutes if you come early, you can do that. We can do the class, then we can do the group discussion and then summarize it, and with that we will end. So this is the 9th session, 8th session. 8th, whichever. So the last session will be on 1st May. So I am not giving, today we are not distributing the Guru Dakshina envelopes. All of you know the tradition, is, the knowledge is valuable, invaluable, and comes from the Rishis. And if you feel benefited and you want to contribute to propagation of knowledge, please come forward and help. Whatever contributions you have made, they go for, we pay a rent for this place. So whatever else, if you feel, there is no compulsion on anybody. My suggestion is that please take these forms instead of Guru Dakshina envelope. These were given earlier, but if they are not, then you please take this and come on the 8th May to the ashram. This is the 100th birthday of Puja Gurudev, and we must have all the devotees. We wanted that if each one can come there and do the Abhishek on Gurudev, symbolically to express our gratitude and also seek blessings on that day from the Guru Parampara. So that day we have an Abhishek happening in the morning on Sunday 8th May. There are many other things, the sadhana mela it is. So there is a lot of sadhanas also happening parallelly. And so you can come on that day. If you are a family of 4 people, you have children in Balvihar, etc. Each one can take and do one Abhishek. Take a small pot, big pot, whatever you want to take. Come, offer the Abhishek. In case you are traveling, you can do it by proxy also. Somebody from your family can do, or somebody from the ashram can do. If you like, any of us acharyas will do on your behalf and send you the prasad. So our purpose is twofold here. One is that we want all the Chinmaya Mission members to come together on that day and do sadhana and do Abhishek of Gurudev. And second is the funds that we raise through this also will help us for Chinmaya Pradeep. We need to raise still 2 crores for Chinmaya Pradeep, and it is coming up very well. And I am also happy to announce and invite all of you. 19th May will be the inauguration of Chinmaya Pradeep. Exact timing, etc. I will share with you in the next class. But please come. It is coming out very, very nicely. Audio exhibition on life of Gurudev, and through that there is vision of Vedant, Gita, Mahavakyas, so many things are coming up very nicely. So on that day, we will have in the morning or evening, sometime we'll fix after speaking to Guruji, and then I will let you know by 1st May. It's a Thursday, so if you can come, please do come. It's open even after that, anytime one can go there. So those of you who want to, please take this form from here. And we also have this training for transforming Indians to transform India. All of you know it is a movement where we are sharing this knowledge with the children in schools, colleges, corporates, everywhere. So we are specifically training people who can go and take sessions, and we now have started taking sessions in standards from 3rd standard onwards also. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and then the higher age groups. And recently we did a lot of training in Marathi for the police. So Maharashtra police trainees are going through that TITI module. So if you want to become a trainer, we are having this training that will happen, and so the training is 27th April, 28th April, 30th April and 1st May. This soft copy will be sent on WhatsApp also. 1:30 to 3:30. And there are only 2 modules, emotional transformation and intellectual transformation. Learn those 2, and then you get trained in public speaking also, and then you can assist somebody who is going there to do the sessions, learn slowly, and then start taking the sessions. There's a great joy in sharing this knowledge and seeing the lives of people empowered. So anybody wants to become a trainer, you please contact Shamanji and give your name, and you are welcome to come. But please come if you want to become a trainer. This session is not open just for knowing what the module is. This is meant specifically for training the trainers. And so we want people to come together, learn to be a trainer. And in terms of time commitment, it is not very large time commitment that is required. You can start small also. In a week, 4-5 hours, if you are able to give, you let us know, and then we will slot where all the sessions can be done, what can be done. So that is the TITI training. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo